Hello and welcome to another Smaulgld live stream. It is the 6th of June 2019. Tonight's topic, Silicon Valley's legal woes and SEC comments on a Bitcoin ETF. The other night we discussed the issues with Google, Apple, Facebook, Amazon, and AT&T appearing to be in the crosshairs of either the Department of Justice or the Federal Trade Commission. Facebook and Amazon appear to be slated for review there, and Google and Apple for the Department of Justice. All right, well, welcome Smaulgld mug stackers and game changers. Let's take a look at also later in the program. If we take a look, we're just going to look at Google and some of the things that have been happening with Google, really with YouTube, which is owned by Google, and Google is actually called Alphabet as a corporate matter. But we're going to take a look at that. We're also going to take a look at an interview that happened today between Jay Clayton, I think is his name, of the SEC. He is Jay Clayton is the SEC commissioner, the head guy, and they asked him about Bitcoin ETFs. So we're going to get into some of his comments and what that might mean. But first now, let's take a quick look at the markets today. The equity markets rallied a bit today. They attribute that to some supposed Mexican intervention on their own southern border using the military to repel a migrant caravan. That may mean that the tariffs that are scheduled to go on to Mexico, the progressive tariffs, the 5% to start on Monday, may or may not happen. Not quite sure where that's going to head, but anyway, the Dow Jones was up 181 points, or 0.71%. NASDAQ up a 0.53%. S&P 500 by 0.61%. Dow Jones at 25,720. NASDAQ at 7615, and S&P 500 at 2843. Now, gold and silver rose a little bit, just a little bit. Gold went up to 1334. Silver had a slightly better day to 1487. The cryptocurrencies, it looks like they're pretty much flat. Bitcoin at 7. Nope, it looks like Bitcoin is breaking out as well, but it looks like Litecoin about an hour ago took about it looks like a $7 or $8 increase to 111.85, rising as we speak. That's up 8%. Bitcoin is actually down on the day, but it just had a big spike. It's at 769, and it looks like now all the cryptocurrencies are starting to catch bids higher. Anyway, let's take a look now at Google and specifically YouTube. Now, the story we're going to cover tonight is there is a guy at Vox, I think his handle is Gay Wonk, and he was upset with, we're not going to get into the actual back and forth in this. That's not what I'm interested in. I'm interested in what the legal solutions and ramifications are going to be. He got into some spat with Crowder. Apparently Crowder made fun of him. I don't know the exact story. Gay Wonk was upset about it. He was putting pressure on YouTube to toss him off the platform. And that apparently did not work, which is odd. And we're going to get into why I think that is odd, because people have been booted off of YouTube for less. I mean, he clearly made fun of the guy, and that's generally, you go after someone in a protected class, that's hate speech, that's a violation of terms of service, and off you go. I mean, that has not been something that many of these social media platforms have been reluctant to act upon. They generally act very quickly on those types of things. Steven Crowder seems to be able to get away with a bit more, and he apparently got away with a bit more on this. There were others, however, that were not so lucky. There were a few channels that were tossed or demonetized. As I don't even know if they had done anything. There was no specific incident, as there was in this case with Steven Crowder. But here is the main issue, without getting in the back and forth over who's right and who's wrong and how it should be handled. Let's look at how it will be handled and why perhaps that YouTube came to the conclusion that they did not to boot him. Now, not only did they not boot him, they explicitly said what he did was not a violation of their terms of services. That's strange. But then when Gay Wonk complained, they demonetized him, which is strange, because does it take someone complaining? I mean, it's not like Steve Crowder's been hiding under a rock for the past couple of years. He's probably, if any of the channels would have scrutiny, you would think YouTube would have scrutiny on the largest channels. Obviously, this channel can probably go under the radar if there's things going on here, and you can understand how YouTube might not find it. There's only 3,200 subscribers. There's only a few hundred visits a night. Maybe they missed that. I can understand that. But if Crowder is doing something wrong that either deserves him getting booted or something that means he's not advertiser friendly, you would have think that they would have figured that out already. But it seems to have taken the pressure from Gay Wonk, the guy from, I think he works at Vox as a journalist. They would have caught that up already, but they didn't. But here's what I found is the most interesting portion of the interaction today. So let me just pull it up here on the Twitter feed. As I mentioned, YouTube came to the conclusion that Steven Crowder did not breach the terms of service. And I thought that was strange because, as I mentioned, there are things... It's clearly hate speech the way they define it. Now, I don't want to get into the discussion of hate speech. I mean, you could argue that making fun of somebody is hate speech. You can argue that that's just hurting someone's feelings. But the way that YouTube and all the social media companies have handled things, or if you attack somebody, bully somebody in their minds, call them names, and then they're a protected class, then you got to go. I mean, that's generally the case. But today, the last couple of days, that did not happen. And Steven Crowder remains on his YouTube channel. Now he's on other channels and giving interviews and bashing YouTube, as there are many people bashing YouTube for not, quote, defending free speech. Now, how did YouTube respond to this is what I find very interesting. YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Apple, all these companies are viewed as platforms, and as platforms, they don't have the same liability as a publisher might have. So if you're a publisher and you publish something, let's say you're the New York Times, you're CNN, you have direct responsibility for what you put on your front page, what you put on your platform. Smaulgld is a publisher. It's not a platform. You can't go onto Smaulgld and start typing onto my homepage. That's just not a platform. I don't think anyone would want to do that anyway. But the point is that a publisher is responsible, makes sense, for what they publish. A platform is not. Now, if a publisher publishes something that is false or untrue, does it on purpose, and it's not to a public figure, then they can easily be sued. They have defenses. It could be a matter of public interest, whatever. I'm not going to get into the ins and outs of libel and slander, but a publisher does not have any type of exemption from being sued. They can have defenses, but the idea that a publisher doesn't have these types of exemptions is, why should they? I mean, everybody's responsible for what they do, and if you are a publisher, well, you've published the content, then you're responsible for it. Now, Facebook and Apple and the rest of them are just going to focus on YouTube. If you think about what YouTube is not well, now they are with YouTube Plus or whatever you want to call it, their premium service. But YouTube does not publish, or at least now they do. They have this little YouTube section. But 99% of the content you see on YouTube is not published by Google. So when Google makes a video, YouTube makes a video as YouTube, yeah, they're responsible for what's in that video. But they are not responsible for my video. They're not responsible for Steven Crowder's video. They're not responsible for any other video other than their own video. And that gives them an exemption. So if I go on this station, this platform, and I start accusing somebody of committing fraud, I say that Joe Smith has been stealing from his partner. I think he stole $6 million. Well, the reason that's defamatory is because it makes Joe look like an absolute creep. It's a damage to his his reputation. Now, if I just say someone's a moron, name calling doesn't count. Okay, so you can see you're responsible for your own statements that you make as a publisher, and a content creator is deemed to be a publisher. All right. Crowder is a publisher, and obviously he's responsible. Now, Gay Wonk, the guy who's complaining about Crowder, if he has a problem with Crowder, he can sue Crowder. He probably won't get anywhere because, after all, I think Gay Wonk is gay, and I think what Crowder was saying was he was gay. I don't know the whole ins and outs. He was making fun of him. But again, you can't really sue someone for making fun of you. So, and I think Gay Wonk knows this, but he also knows that it's harmful, hateful language he doesn't like. So he wants to have YouTube do something about it. So he complains and he says, look, I may not be able to sue the guy over, but this is really bad stuff here. It's behavior we don't want on the platform. Take him down, take him down, take him down. And as I mentioned, YouTube didn't do it. Now remember, YouTube or Facebook or Twitter, any of these companies, what they can do, and it's a way of getting around not changing their characterization as a platform into a publisher, they can do some kind of, I think they're sneaky stealth things. They can shadow ban, they can suppress certain content, they can promote other content, they can make recommendations for content they like. Twitter clearly does it with hashtags. They trend hashtags that are all to their liking, and then in the hashtag Twitter feed, it is all characters that they have sanctioned and they believe in. And even if you block those particular characters, they'll still show up under the hashtag. So that appears to me to be a bit of a publication. That's not just the platform. If you don't have control over the platform, also if you have on Facebook, if you follow 20 people and let's say you're in the Betsy Ross Society and all you want to see is pictures of flags and you want to see information on Betsy Ross, and they feed information into you like they think you want to see, like why the flag is racist. They're just stuff that has nothing to do with, it may have nothing even to do with flags. It may just be they want to show you stuff. Well, in a sense, then, they're publishing that information. Now, you could say they're not really, but they kind of are. Because a platform means that you go on the platform. They're not responsible for what's on there. But if they're going to start feeding you stuff, well, that's more akin to publishing. So, for example, you go to the New York Times, there's a front page. It's published. What's on there, they're responsible for. Well, it's the same thing with Twitter and their hashtags and Facebook dumping stuff into your feed. They're actually publishing that into your platform, and if they don't allow you to publish on their platform, well, then it's not really a platform. Then it's more that they have editorial control over what goes on the platform. So if I can't come on here and talk about, let's say they don't want me talking about the gold-silver ratio, and they ban that, well, they've made an editorial decision not to allow gold-silver ratio, which means they're more akin to a publisher. Now, what they do is they don't say they're making publication decisions. They're actually talking about making these editorial decisions, and they don't call them that, based on terms of service violations, which is a big difference. So if you're talking about a term of service violation, they can get away with it and say that it's not really a publication or editorial decision. So they can suppress you. They can change the search algorithm so you don't show up. They could take you out of the recommendations, or they can make their own recommendations. Or they can then demonetize you, and then finally they can boot you. So I think with Gay Wonk, he went straight for the booting, and that didn't work. So when he complained that they didn't boot him after what you're looking at on the screen, they did demonetize him. Now we're going to get into how this might all play out as part of the DOJ investigation into Google, the search results, and so on. Let's take a look at what Team YouTube said. One of the rationales they gave for not booting Steven Crowder off the platform. As an open platform, it is crucial for us to allow everyone, from creators to journalists to late-night TV hosts, to express their opinions within the scope of our policies. Opinions can be deeply offensive, but if they don't violate our policies, they remain on our site. Now that is very, very legalistic language there. What they're doing is they are self-identifying as an open platform, which clearly they are not. However, this decision was made on that basis. They can point to this now and say, okay, Steven Crowder was a dick. Steven Crowder was offensive. Steven Crowder offended Gay Wonk. Steven Crowder was a bad guy. But because we are an open platform, and it is crucial, meaning like they take this open platform stuff seriously. They're self-identifying as an open platform, and it's allow everyone. They use the word everyone. Look how inclusive all this is. And then they say, look, we know that there's a lot of bad stuff, even deeply offensive, but as long as it doesn't violate our policies, which it does. They have stuff in their policies that says you offend people, then you get booted. It says they remain on our site. Now that's a good policy. If you want to be a platform, that's exactly what you need to be. That's exactly how you need to behave. Now, we know they haven't behaved like that in the past. We know they just booted people. Someone gets an insult and boom, they're gone. Someone puts up content they don't like and they say, okay, there's a strike. Here's another strike. Now you're out of here. This language right here is basically Exhibit 101 for that's their defense, is we are an open platform, and we even publicly state it's so crucial for us to allow everyone, you're talking about not just the big time news outlets, but anybody, content creators, and they can express their opinions as long as they don't violate our policies. Well, that's what the thing is going to be. What are exactly are your policies? But here they're saying, but our policies got nothing to do with opinions. Now, even if they're deeply offensive. Now, how is it? I don't know. One man's deeply offensive opinion is another man's thumbs up, and vice versa. As long as they don't violate. Interesting. I get cut off when I'm talking about YouTube. Very, very interesting that I get cut off then again. What I was saying is that YouTube, and you're going to cut me off again probably, was that they are self-identifying as a platform that's open for everyone, and how crucial it is for everyone to be on this platform. It doesn't matter if you're a major news outlet, just everybody. This is the idea of the open platform. It's crucial to allow everyone there, even though opinions can be deeply offensive. And what are deeply offensive opinions? As I was mentioning, one person's deeply offensive opinion is another person's thumbs up, and vice versa. As long as they don't violate our policies, they will remain on our site. This is their policy, it appears, going forward. Or maybe it's not. Maybe this is just to kind of high profile. They know that this is one where all eyes are on them. So now they're going to stand up for the idea that they are an open platform. And the problem they have, though, is the DOJ, when they do their investigation, they're going to go back and they're going to look at hundreds or if not thousands of channels that were booted off the platform for, did they actually act in a way that they were promoting an open platform, and that just happened to be every one of them was booted for a violation of the terms of service, or were their opinions just deeply offensive and Team YouTube didn't like them? And I'm sure they're going to, that's a question of fact, and they're going to have to analyze that and argue about it. They're really, it is not, it's a fact and law analysis, because their policies themselves are subject to so much interpretation. However, what's going to work against them is having policies that are slightly ambiguous, if not very ambiguous, and are applied perhaps not in an even-handed way. And there's no way they can be. What is offensive? What is bullying? What is harm? What a fairer-minded open platform would be much more along the lines of just direct threats, copyright infringement, things that are actually not as judgmental as YouTube's policies are. When, let's say, start talking about wanting to eliminate hate speech, there is no such thing as hate speech. I mean, there is, but it's not a legal term. The Supreme Court has recognized that it doesn't exist. That's protected. So they're going to have a hard time saying they're an open platform when they've already attached a different standard to how they are going to operate their platform. Well, if they operate their platform more on this judgmental basis, and then it's judgmental on how they actually apply the judgmental language in their terms of service, that's probably not going to pass the platform test, no matter how many self-serving statements they make about being an open platform and how crucial it is to allow everyone, because they're going to go back and find so many people that were booted for far less. Now, the next issue is this demonetization issue. Now, a lot of content providers are bitching and complaining. They demonetize me. It's not fair. It's not fair. I actually think they're wrong. And an open platform does not mean that you have a right to earn a living off of the work that the open platform has provided to you. Meaning, Google runs or YouTube runs the open platform. They won't cut me off for this, I'm sure, because this is defending them. But I'm not defending them. It's just factual. If they run the platform, they don't owe you advertising revenue. Now, you may say, well, people wouldn't come to the platform if it wasn't for me, and they could make remember, they're foregoing advertising revenue themselves when they demonetize you. They don't care. If they want to be political or they don't want to have certain content monetized, that's up to them. And they can still remain a platform as long as they don't boot you, as long as they don't suppress you in the search, as long as they don't basically delist you or kick you off. There's still a concept of the open platform, and they still would have, I think, the exemption from the liability for slander or libel. But they don't owe you a open advertising platform. That's their business judgment, which is different, because just because they don't if they allow you on the platform, you can say whatever you want, as long as you don't violate, not their nebulous policy, but they put in new policies, which is basically just don't threaten people with physical violence, don't, the real, don't bully people and that kind of stuff. Then I think they're fine with demonetizing you. Now, however, if it's an open platform, you should be free to go out and get your own advertisers, which a lot of people are doing. But you do not have a right to Google's ability to drive ad revenue to your site. You don't have a right to that. They've organized the advertisers, but you haven't done that. They don't have to give you a piece of that. And you being on the platform, that's your open platform. Now, what they could do as a possible solution in a consent decree is basically tell YouTube you either can become a publisher, which same with Facebook and the others, which in many respects we might find that you are. That's the last thing these companies, that would put them out of business. They do not want to be responsible for what everyone puts up, because if they are going to be responsible for what everyone puts up, then they're a publisher, and then they're going to have to boot everyone off, and they won't have anyone on there because everyone's a risk that they might say something they're going to be sued for. They'd be sued out of existence. So that's why they need this open platform concept, and it's essential that they hold on to it. But they also want to hold on to their ability to demonetize people, and I think they'll be able to do that. Because, you could come up with a solution that says everyone's also, as part of this open platform, also has to have access to the same advertising everybody else has. I don't think that they do, but one way of dealing with that, if YouTube was more interested in making as much money as possible, that's what I would do. If I was running the company for maximizing shareholder value, what I would do is take every channel and have them either self-identify or somehow figure out that, for example, the Smaulgld channel, say, okay, what kind of channel is this? Well, it says right on it. It says cryptocurrencies, gold, silver, economics. All right? I would take the Smaulgld channel, toss it into a bucket, and tell advertisers that here's what you can do. You can do the gardening channels. You can do a package with cryptocurrencies and gold. You can do a package with gold, economics, and gardening. You could do one with gardening, politics, and Democrat causes. You can do one with gun rights and conspiracy theories. And there are advertisers that will not want to be part of, they don't want to advertise on a gold channel. They don't want to advertise on a flat earth channel. They don't want to advertise on a gardening channel. But there are advertisers that want to reach people who believe in the flat earth. There are people that want to advertise that are going to meet fellow gardeners, or they're going to want to advertise on a crypto channel. They're going to want to advertise on a 9/11 channel. if you're a 9/11 channel, there are certain products that people who believe in, quote, 9/11 truth, there's products to sell to those people. So to say something isn't advertiser friendly is really offensive, because advertiser friendly to whom? They say our advertisers. Well, there's certain advertisers, I'm sure, that want to advertise on certain channels. But I'm sure, if you look at if they say now that Crowder's not advertiser friendly, what does that mean? That there's no merchants that want to reach his massive audience. There's just none. He's not advertiser friendly, and that's what they basically said. Now, that's fine. If they want to do that and they want to forego that revenue, I say you don't have a right to that revenue. However, I would say, this is where I think this is going to head to, and we'll get your opinions at the end, is that they're going to do everything they can now, or they'll be forced to keep the platform open, but they're going to use that demonetization thing as a hammer. But I don't think it'll be that big of a hammer, because I think that you can go out and get other advertisers. You can put affiliate links below. And by the way, that's a hint. Smaulgld has affiliate links. You can buy gold and silver through the affiliate links. You can buy Smaulgld products through the affiliate links. I get a small commission when you do that, when you do click on those affiliate links. So you may say, well, it's not as good as the Google AdSense, or, well, it could be. But the point is, if Google's made a decision, just as a function, as a business judgment, they'd rather forego the revenue than send advertisers to a 9/11 Truth channel or a Flat Earth channel. That's their business, because I'm sure you can find, if you have a big enough audience, you can find advertisers. So I think that's what's going to happen with YouTube. I think that they'll probably, this is a big prediction, and this may take years. By the time this is sorted out, and maybe we have an open platform, everybody can be on YouTube, no one will be on YouTube. They'll have already moved to a decentralized platform. I know that the Microsoft antitrust, by the time they finished with Microsoft, they had lost, everything went to the internet, so it was no longer as big of a deal that Microsoft was monopolizing. A lot of competition took place. It's hard for people to imagine. They just think, but just got to look at MySpace. It's gone. That somehow everyone's always going to be on Facebook. Everyone's always going to be on YouTube. Everyone's always going to be on Amazon. Everyone's always going to be on Twitter. Everyone's always going to use AT&T and so on. The reason this is important, as I mentioned, it's not just law. It's politics. Trump wants to get this done, or put the kind of fear into the Silicon Valley companies. Their stock price takes a hit when they have these investigations, and make them less likely to go after channels that may not support Trump. It may support Trump and may not support their agenda. I think that's what is driving this. There's also legal issues here for sure, but this is part and parcel of a political attack from the Department of Justice under the Trump administration. And, that's a very important point, is that as we saw when Obama was president, he was in control of the government apparatus, and it looks like they used that government apparatus to do the whole Russian collusion investigation. And that may have been illegal. I don't think this is illegal. I think there are actual issues here. They didn't fabricate. They didn't tell Steven Crowder, okay, go after this gay wonk guy and get yourself as a test case. These things happen, and YouTube is known to boot people off the channel. It's not like it's some kind of setup. So it is subject to any monopoly. And we know that Facebook and Apple and Amazon and Google could be almost, you can pretty much get them the characterization to say that they're a monopoly. Well, then they're always subject to Department of Justice scrutiny, and then the issue is whether they are engaging in anti-competitive practices, or i.e. whether they are monopolizing. Now, there's nothing wrong with having monopoly. Monopoly is actually, that's a good thing. It means that they have provided something that everybody wants. Everybody's on YouTube for a reason, because it's the best platform. It's where all the visitors are. It's where all the content providers are. That's why there's nothing wrong with attaining monopoly. That, in fact, is the goal of any business. Smaulgld has a monopoly on Smaulgld mugs. That's how you define the market. But I do not have a monopoly on all mugs. And if I did, and somehow I had tied up all the producers of mugs around the world and no one else could make a mug, then you might say that's anti-competitive. So you see how that works. All right, so that's what's going on with YouTube. I think they're doing shut down again, but we're back on. That's what I think YouTube is doing, is self-serving again. We're an open platform. It's crucial for everyone, so they're preparing themselves or providing self-serving statements. All right, let's take a look now at just briefly what's going on with the Bitcoin ETF information that we learned today from Jay Clayton, who was on the I can't believe I have to keep a hawkish eye on this OBS program. I've been able to catch it every time I get cut off, able to close the program and get right back on. It's interesting. Every time I was talking about the self-serving statements of YouTube, open platform, I got cut off. And the reason for that is, I believe, if indeed it's even being, it could just be a technical glitch, but it does happen when you're making a point. If you're making a point and you get cut off, the attention does get lost. There's no two ways about it. And then the attention not only gets lost, the person listening is thinking about, oh, they cut me off, oh, they cut him off, or oh, is he kidding, or they didn't really cut him off. Now you've forgotten. It's really effective because you lost the thread of the statement, and then you start having an internal debate as to whether it was on purpose or whether it was a technical issue or whether Lewis is just doing this to gain. I suspect that all the time, that when the channel goes off, I'm like, yeah, the guy's trying to get donations. He's trying to say his channel is under attack. You hear that all the time. Anyway, I'll say it again, and we'll see if we get cut off. I think YouTube is now making self-serving statements using the Crowder case as a test case to say, we are an open platform and it's crucial for us to allow everyone from creators to journalists to late night TV hosts to express their opinions within the scope of our policies. Now they're trying to say that they're allowed to have policies, which they are, but they're also saying the opinions can be deeply offensive, but if they don't violate our policies, they'll remain on our site. I think they have a big trouble with that policies issue because those policies are not open platform policies. They say you can't have hate speech. They say a lot of things that are much more subjective and judgmental. All right, now let's move over to the ETF and the Bitcoin. We had Jay Clayton talking on CNBC today, and he was talking about, they're asking me, what's going on with this Bitcoin ETF? Why, what's going to happen? How come we don't have one yet? So there he is, Jay Clayton. And he's not really giving any different answers that we haven't heard already from after they've shut down Gemini, they shut down Bitwise, they shut down VanEck. A bunch of Bitcoin ETFs have been shut down. And the issues still come down to custodial and to manipulation of the market. Now, the custodial issue, I don't understand. AXPO, there are many now high-grade custodial arrangements in place that cold storage, deep in the vault in some Swiss mountain, they have this stuff now. And I'm pretty sure that the institutions that are already operating these things are pretty comfortable that they have and they can track what they have in that storage. I don't know why they keep saying that that's still an issue, but that's what Clayton said today is we're engaging on this, but there's a couple of things we need to feel comfortable with. The first is custody. Custody is a long-standing requirement in our markets, and if you say you have something, you have to really have it. Well, fair enough, but I'm not sure that the institutional grade custodial arrangements that are now available wouldn't meet that test. Then he did make a point, which is a fair point, is the other thing is we have sophisticated rules and surveillance to ensure that people are not manipulating the stock market. Yeah, and even though you have those rules and surveillance, we don't know, but we can suspect that the stock market, the commodities markets, all these markets somehow are manipulated no matter what, but at least they have this surveillance. The cryptocurrency markets by and large do not have that. Well, that's not true either. There are a number of over-the-counter exchanges that have the same market surveillance technology from NASDAQ. So not sure if he's up on all this. I mean, it's up to the Bitcoin ETF promoters like CBOE and Van Eck and Bitwise to show them this. And in fact, Bitwise even showed them that there are 10 legitimate exchanges in the world, and the rest of them he agrees. And a lot of it's just bogus trading, wash trading, manipulative trading. But there are OTC exchanges, there are regular exchanges that have market surveillance. But he's saying, but he does say, we're working hard to see if we can get there. But I'm not just going to flip a switch and say this is just like stock and bonds, because it's not. No, he's right, but I don't know how much more comfortable he's going to get with. It might be that once Bakkt has a New York Bit license and Bakkt gets approved from the CFTC, trading happens there. Fidelity's already got custody. ErisX is online with the OTC. He may start to say, okay, we're going to use those exchanges as the ones with the market surveillance, and we're going to take it out. I mean, I don't think Fidelity would be offering its institutions custodial arrangements that they thought were inadequate in some way. I mean, yes, this is a big opportunity for all of the brokerages to get into, but you gain nothing, not Fidelity, not with its reputation, to go in and pick up 24 institutional clients and to have them not have the proper custody. So I'm not quite sure that custody is an issue at all. I'm not really even sure that the market surveillance issue can't be solved, because again, New York Stock Exchange on Bakkt is going to have all of that market surveillance type of stuff that the SEC so loves. Another story, and then we'll get to your comments on regulation, was Giancarlo, what's his name? I don't remember his name. Crypto Dad. His name is, I think his last name is Giancarlo. Anyway, he's resigning. He'll be out, I guess, at the end of July. They've appointed a new guy, and that guy's name, what is his name here? I think I have it somewhere. His name is Tarbert. And he's a young guy. He was approved by the Senate. His name is Heath Talbert. He's about 42 years old, but apparently he is John Carlo is a big, I mean, he's the one who approved this, the CME group, the CBO group, those groups, and the Ledger group to issue and to allow the trading of Bitcoin futures. Remember, they have the ruling that Bitcoin is deemed a commodity. It's not part of the SEC. Now, the only reason you say, well, if Bitcoin is a commodity, why is Jay Clayton over at the SEC so concerned about a Bitcoin ETF? Because once you put it in a Bitcoin ETF, in a sense becomes a security subject to the 33 Act, 34 Act, and the 40 Act with the custody. But Giancarlo was a proponent of allowing 3 Bitcoin futures products to be launched, so they call him Crypto Dad. Now, there's another woman, Hester Pierce, over at the SEC. She's one of the commissioners. She's a critic of some of the other commissioners. It seems, in her mind, they should have already approved a Bitcoin ETF. So it looks like eventually, I mean, even Clayton is saying we're going to get there, that this thing will happen, but doesn't look like yet. I think the next date for the 2 pending Bitwise and Van Eck CBOE are in August, and at which time they can delay it another 3 months till October, or they can reject it in August, or they can finally reject it in October. My guess now is in all this, the way Wall Street works, in the summertime, nothing happens. All these guys go out to the Hamptons. They come back in the fall, and that's when I think you'll see all the fireworks. Bakkt will get started up in Bitcoin ETF. Again, it's just a prediction, not investment advice, but I think if it's going to happen, that's when it's going to happen. They don't like to do stuff in the middle of summer. They're all on vacation, doing whatever they do. All right, let's see what y'all are saying. I'm going to put up the Smaulgld fundraising for you to appreciate all of the support. And again, we don't even have YouTube ads on here, so we're not reliant on that. But I will say, even though we're not relying on it, we're not making any money either. And adding that isn't going to make us any money, so I don't feel like to burden people with those silly ads. So I do try to ask for support of the channel via donations, via supporting the merchants, the bullion dealers, on the site, Golden Eagle Coin, and then the links below. Money Metals Exchange and SD Bullion. They get a small commission if you buy gold or silver or platinum, whatever else they have for sale there. If you do purchase from those links, not investment advice to do that, but if you're going to do that, you pay no more, no less than if you visited those sites directly. But then also, you can donate via Bitcoin, Litecoin. You could become a Smaulgld Patriot. You can become a Smaulgld Subscribe Star, Mug Stacker. Join one of the Mug Stacker clubs. You can make a one-time or recurring donation via PayPal, or you can send checks, money orders, cash, objects to art, or precious metals to Smaulgld LLC, P.O. Box 714, Dover, New Hampshire 03820. And you can also pick up yourself a Smaulgld mug stacking game-changing mug. You can get a Smaulgld Super Classic or a Classic. You get the beer mugs, the beer steins, all on Smaulgld.com or at the links below this BitChute and YouTube. Let's see what y'all are saying in the comments. All right. Ann is here and Roger is here. All right, you guys are talking. If I don't have any comments, I'm going to hand it over to Bernie. Here you go, Roger. The world has gone completely mad. Well, okay. I can argue there. And it looks like, let's see, no more comments. All right. I want to thank everyone for joining me tonight, and we will see you tomorrow. Bernie, can you give us the countdown? And if we have no further comments, we're going to say goodnight. All right, Bernie, give us the countdown. All right, so I want everybody to donate to Smaulgld via this Bitcoin and this Litecoin thing, or to buy one of those mugs, because mugs are real wealth. Okay, Bernie, give us the countdown. Okay, so 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1%, 0. Have a good night. Thank you, Bernie. Have a good night, everyone, and we will see you tomorrow. Tomorrow is Friday, I believe, and you know what Friday is. Friday is Friday Night Crypto with Smaulgld, and Saturday is Saturday Night Silver with Smaulgld. We're going to go through a lot of these commitment to trader numbers, a lot of the sales numbers, Indian numbers. Sunday, we're going to do the same thing on Solid Gold Sunday with Smaulgld. Thanks, everyone, and have a good night.